I am here with Mackenzie and Greg from the Dungeons and Dragons team here at GenCon 2025, and we just finished the press event that they hosted here at the Indiana Roof Ballroom. And why don't you go ahead and share with us what you all announced today at the press event? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking about Adventures in Faerun and Heroes of Faerun, which are our two Forgotten Realms products that are coming out this fall. And those are two large, both digital and physical products that are going to explore the Forgotten Realms in greater depth. And so, with the player book, Heroes of Faerun, we're going to be providing just loads and loads of character options for our players who are interested in really immersing their characters within the realms, grounding their characters in those regions, those backgrounds, those factions. And then with Adventures in Faerun, we're providing 5 settings that are going to be able to give DMs more ability to kind of immerse players in different thematic settings and locations, along with an accompanying set of adventures. Anything to add, Mackenzie?
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to add is that one of the things I'm really excited for when we're exploring in the Adventures in Faerun book is this idea of working in multiple styles of play for the dungeon master. One of the things that sort of kept me personally from engaging in the Forgotten Realms for the longest time was because it always felt like there was this huge backlog of lore that people swore up and down by. And to be clear, I love and respect people who love the lore of the Forgotten Realms, who know that stuff like the back of their hands. And the Adventures in Faerun book really honors that and gives you a lot of this information. But it also has entry points for players who are like me, who don't prep a whiff of their campaigns and just kind of love like being able to pick up and play something and immerse and learn about the world through the act of doing and playing rather than reading. And that's some of the things I think that's a wonderfully unique approach in this new delve into Faerun that I cannot wait for folks to explore.
And I think, one of the great things about having this book coming out as well, too, is that just like what you said, you can just use the book and use it as kind of like a starting point for anybody at any level. Because especially with Forgotten Realms, I mean, like the most populous setting and like how there's so much information out there.
Oh, big.
Yes. Like even looking at the yeah, because like you could look at like the books that came out in the 80s and 90s. You could look at like the wiki that's out there. People use Baldur's Gate 3 and other resources out like there's a lot. So it's nice to have kind of that information in the book itself to have that. What is something it sounds like there's a lot that's being honored in there, but is there something new in terms of the lore or anything like that that might be in this book that might be the first time that we're getting?
We have updated lore for Callumshan, which I'm really excited. Or do you want to talk about it? You can talk about it today. So I'm really excited because we haven't visited Callumshan in so long. And we updated the lore and like who rules Callumshan. And we have this amazing story about of how like the power struggle between the genies and the elemental factions and this heroic Sultana who has sort of come in and sort of helped to reshape the world. And then we also included so much lore and new mechanical wonders that sort of characterize Callumshan and Calumport and a wonderful creator who is behind them, who actually gets a spell named after them in Heroes of Faerun, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what really occurs to me is that, like, after like fourth edition, there was this during fourth edition there was the Sundering, and there was a lot of events and novels around like what was going on in the Forgotten Realms. But unless you read all of those novels, it was really hard to kind of get a picture of which deities are dead, which deities are alive, which factions are prominent, which aren't. And so these books kind of bring together that picture of the Forgotten Realms in a way that I think means that any person, player, DM who's reading it can kind of get a comprehensive picture of what is going on in the realms present day.
Right.
I think one of my other favorite lore additions is the expansion, but not a rewrite of the Purple Dragon Knights. So the Purple
Yes.
Dragon Knights, um, we wanted to honor their original and still keep that original roots in Cormyr, and their original like sort of idea of them being these sort of paragonal knights. And so they are still that, and the Banneret subclass honors that original core interpretation of the Purple Dragon Knights. But we also really wanted to explore sort of what that purple dragon could be, whether it's just a dragon long ago or something more recent, or maybe a melding of the two. And so we've introduced the Purple Dragon Knight's tie to Amethyst dragons, and their kind of almost connection to the deeper multiverse themselves,
Right.
which the book goes into way more depth about how that's connected. But sort of exploring that tie between these Amethyst dragons, the people of Cormyr, their multiversal desire to protect and bring good and light and life is something that I really enjoyed diving into when I was reading through the book.
Awesome. Now, can I ask a design question about that subclass since you brought that up? Because some things I've heard from people about the new subclass coming out is that there was a Purple Dragon Knight subclass that I think existed before, and people have said like it's seems like it's the departure from that. And then there's also people that say like there's a lot of similarities between this one and the Drake Warden Ranger subclass as well too. So can you speak a little bit more about like those differences and what people can expect for the new book that's coming out, like how that's going to be different than some of these things, while also kind of like what you said, it's expanding but not
Yeah.
necessarily changing what existed before.
So so we had a Purple Dragon Knight, also known as the Banneret subclass, that appeared in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide.
Right.
Um, for a Unearthed Arcana, I think around last year, though time's a little funky for me. We had the Unearthed Arcana article. It might have been last year. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember. It's at some point in the past. But we had the Forgotten Realms, a bunch of subclasses themed around the Forgotten Realms. And one of them was a new exploration of the Purple Dragon Knight. And we wanted to, and that one wasn't like everything in Unearthed Arcana, that one wasn't set in stone. It was an experiment. It was something we wanted to try.
Right.
So in that subclass, we wanted to try what it would be like to have a dragon-focused Purple Dragon Knight subclass. So we tied it to the Amethyst dragons, and as with a lot of Unearthed Arcana things, we got feedback, and a lot of people were unhappy with how the sort of mounted partnership worked with that Purple Dragon Knight subclass.
Okay.
So what we did, we took that feedback, and we took it and we compared it to the existing Purple Dragon Knight subclass. And we took some of the feedback that was mechanical about things they liked and things they didn't, and we decided to blend those two together. So we took a lot of inspiration from the existing subclass, as well as the feedback from the Unearthed Arcana version, and we sort of blended them together. We've made some tweaks, made some improvements, and we've overall come up with the Banneret, which really leans into the things that people really loved about the Unearthed Arcana subclass, which was the idea of support and being able to rally and marshal your players and your allies. And so this subclass leans heavily into that because that was what our feedback said was really cool and iconic about the class.
Right. Awesome. Cool. Speaking of the Sword Coast Adventures guy, so I'm sure people are going to be asking, like, are these two books going to be different from the Sword Coast Adventures guy? Especially, like, I remember the presentation having the little clip about the 42 deities, which we did see, like, a description of a lot of the deities in Sword Coast Adventures guide. What would entice somebody to get these two books, or at least the Adventures in Faerun book, that they wouldn't be able to get in Sword Coast Adventures guide?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things is just how expansive it is, which is like the Sword Coast Adventures Guide is about just the Sword Coast, and it's a tiny snippet. And if you actually look at that map of Faerun, yeah, it's like the Sword Coast is the equivalent of like we're West Coast based, so it's like Seattle to California, and
No, it's like just California.
yeah, or exactly. And then you have like the whole rest of the United States that book really didn't pay any attention to. So
Yeah.
I think that's really the like one of the big compelling points is just I mean it goes all the way over into like the arcane empires of like Thesk and Thay, as well as again from the deities perspective, kind of modernizing those, bringing those up to date in terms of kind of what has happened more recently within the lore. The other thing I'd say like is that book I worked at Wizards when it came out, and like subclass and a lot of the mechanical design was still very new. That was being worked on at the same time as the original 5th edition.
Right.
So I mean I think that this has really brought a lot of like modernization to the
It is especially with the Heroes Guide, not the Heroes Guide, the Heroes of Faerun. It is so mechanically robust, I think, with like it's chock full of subclasses, but not only that, you've got spells, you've got feats, you've got
Right.
backgrounds, you've got so much to mechanically entrench you in the realms, which I think is going to be a new and very exciting thing for players to explore. Even if they decide not to explore the realms, like these are things that people can explore in and use in other campaign settings, like across whether across all of their campaigns, which is super exciting.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about spellfire and in the panel, and there's that image I remember from the book of like it showing different manifestations of spellfire,
That art.
which is so cool. And like as a it for kind of for the first time seeing all those feats got me like really interested in like playing a character that had a kind of basis around the spellfire ability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the idea like the circle spells, I think is really fascinating, really cool. So talking about a new mechanic for that, I think that's going to be really fascinating. And just like you said, that can be used in a lot of different settings.
Yeah, I'm really excited for people to sort of explore and find uses for circle spells. We have because a lot of our approach since with the new core rulebooks and also sort of going forward is making it really friendly and easy to kind of grasp how to use things.
Right.
One of my favorite things is we have a little sidebar that's like, here's how to best use circle magic. But I'm also really excited for people to find ways to use it in absolute
Yeah.
bananas, unconventional ways. I think
Which they will. Yeah.
they absolutely will,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be so good. I'm so excited for people to find that because, like, circle magic has that sort of. It takes a little bit of time to set up,
Right.
but and so it's a little bit dangerous to use in combat. But if you like can sneak in somewhere and do it, or you can like plan and do it,
Yeah.
you can get these really cool effects or these really cool alterations to spells.
Right.
It's also technically still compatible with like meta magic, where you can meta magic a spell
Yeah.
with how because we worded it very specifically to make sure you could also do stuff that also interacts with spells when you're also doing with like your class features and stuff.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
very excited to see. I'm excited for people to find out ways to like absolutely bust it. It
Yeah.
could be so good.
I was thinking about this, which is like so part of it's that you can maintain a concentration, like
Yeah,
if
group
you
concentration.
can have group concentration. So does that then mean that somebody could like long rest while another person's maintaining a concentration? You just have like a permanent concentrated spell.
Yeah.
So so it would have to be because every concentration spell has a limit. So it's like concentration up to a minute. But if you, I think we worded it very specifically. I remember being so hyper specific about this wording because I wanted it to work.
Right.
That if you do the extended spell meta magic
Yeah.
on a concentration spell and then group concentration it, then you can have it for a very long time. But yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things as a designer is finding those weird niche cases
Yeah.
and sometimes blocking them out, but other times being like, no, I want this to work with this niche case and give players that sort of feel of, oh wait, this works, and being able to be clever about how they use these cool new things.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so great. Oh, and I gotta say, going back to talking about the Sword Coast Adventures Guide and everything like that, and with this being Faerun, I do love the fact that this is expanded out to much more than Sword Coast. So I was really happy to see that. And I think that's something that a lot of people have been wanting to see more of with the Forgotten Realms because there is a lot more than Sword Coast.
My favorite comment I've seen online was like, yeah, it's called the Forgotten Realms because everything beyond the sword never beta Genkin too.
Right.
And it was always fun seeing that, like, while I'm working on this book and I'm just sitting there silently, like, just wait,
Right. Right.
we got you.
I have just two more questions for you all. One about the Adventures of Faerun and one about the Heroes of Faerun. With Adventures of Faerun, you had talked about that there's going to be about 50 adventures in there.
Yep.
And it sounds like there's going to be just like a lot of probably like one pagers that kind of like a springboard into adventures. And then there's going to be some that are more fleshed out and like kind of long term.
So there is one long, fully fleshed out adventure, and then all of the other ones are primarily one page, half pager adventures, where it's primarily focused on like, here's your encounter, here are the story beats you need to get to.
Okay.
How you kind of create the connective tissue is up to you.
Right. So kind of like what we saw in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Gotcha. Okay.
And one of the things we didn't get to, but it's actually an important point, is that those adventures are thematically tied into those settings, like
Right.
Swindale and Callumshan.
Yeah.
So it's not just random adventures scattered across the realms, although there are some, I think, that can kind of be placed anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you actually are running a Callumshan campaign, you've got several adventures that you can use.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one of my favorites, I think Blaine had mentioned it because I had run it for some folks, is an adventure called Blood Night in Baldur's Gate. And
Yeah.
it's all about you are brought to this party and the host end up being cultists of Baal. and you need to survive the night as they try and kill everyone in the mansion.
Oh
And
my
it's like,
god, that's
it's
great.
like the perfect combination of Baldur's Gate, like dark
Yeah.
magic plus like political intrigue
Yeah.
plus like high society that just fits so perfectly in the setting, and that's all contained in one page, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And also, I just love the title Blood Knight.
Yeah.
So ominous.
Oh, I mean, it could be also be like its own subclass like name
Yeah,
as
the
well.
Blood Knight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Blood Knight
Yeah.
with a K.
Yeah. Well, and I love hearing that it's something that definitely works in this book, but you can pull into different settings and written that way. And I noticed that Dragon Delves is like definitely Dragon Delves is not a Forgotten Realms specific book, but it's definitely written in a way where it can be plopped into any setting. So it's great that even though this is in Forgotten Realms, that this is something that you can use in other settings too. Heroes of Faerun. I have to ask this because my favorite class is Barbarian.
Yes.
We don't have a subclass for Barbarian. And I also say, this is something I've noticed as well too, is that every time there's a new announcement that's Unearthed Arcana, Barbarians has yet to have a subclass since the 2024 rules. So I just got to ask, like, what is going on with my Barbarian?
Yeah, so we don't have any we don't have any barbarian stuff slated for any Unearthed Arcana, like that's been released. But we're possibly cooking up some stuff, maybe.
What I can say is, I mean, one of the great things about D&D Beyond is we do actually get data about which character classes are being played and which subclasses are popular. And so we can actually make informed decisions about which to prioritize. And sometimes that means certain things don't get prioritized right away.
Yeah, that's right.
If you want to go and create about 10,000 D&D Beyond.
I was going to say, like, if I do that, when that fails, because I will do that. That's what it takes. Yeah. And I'll just go into each class like a day and just like roll some dice so that way it looks like it's actually being used. So, yeah.
But on a more serious note, like we did talk about the digital supplements, and one of the things that D&D Beyond does afford us is the chance to do, more like focused content. And so even though there's no Barbarian subclass for the Forgotten Realms now, that gives us the ability to put things out without necessarily waiting for us to do the next giant Forgotten Realms. So feedback heard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I appreciate that.
I love barbarians too. One of my favorite characters I've ever played. I lovingly call her my plant-based barbarian. Makes her sound vegan, but she's not. But I took Path of the Beast from Tasha's, and I reskinned it to, instead of being beast, it was all plants. Little
my
like
God.
thorn rides, and like I had like a strangler fig and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and she was pink and she was frilly and she and it was great. No, but I totally hear you. Yeah. I mourn the absence of the barbarian in the Unearthed Arcana that's come out thus far. Yeah, we unfortunately didn't have any slated for those ones.
Oh, that's kind of
but
fine. Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's not open for the future. So, like Greg said, like you can game the system.
Right.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not abstaining for people to go out and do this.
But I mean, that's what they're going to be doing now. Well, and I'm sure with Heroes of Faerun, there's probably like, even though there's not a subclass option, there's probably like the feats and probably items and stuff like that.
Absolutely, 100%. There are so many good feats for lack of a better word, punchy characters who really love violence. Oh, there's so many good violence feats and so much.
I noticed that's been a theme like all night, especially when you got excited about the
It's a problem. It's a problem. People like I got excited. I think in the meeting when we were deciding what subclasses would go in and we were pitching them.
right.
When the Scion of 3 came up, I think one of the producers put a note in our notes that was note Mackenzie's visible excitement at Murder Rogue, and I was just like, but I'm sorry, it's fun.
Right. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you talking to me about this and entertaining my idea about the barbarians and stuff like that.
So I'm also here for the barbarian stuff. I'm also looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see what comes down the line.
Oh yeah, and I'm very excited for Forgotten Realms. That's my favorite setting, so I'm very excited for these two books. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.